Hello and welcome to a special edition of The Big Picture with me, Ishan Russell. First up, a very happy new year to all our viewers. Now, as a New Year special, today we decided to look within at the state of media and journalism in the country. The media industry is at a crossroads, and the way forward from here could very well define how the country itself moves forward. 2015 was a rather tumultuous year for journalism, with news about the media ranging from selfies with the Prime Minister to a rather unkind term used by a minister for members of the press to journalists being threatened and targeted in many states. But I believe this is just symptomatic of larger questions about the role of media in today's India. So to understand the conflict within and the way forward, today I'm joined by Bharat Bhushan, editor of Catch News, Sachidanand Murthy, resident editor The Week, Paranjoy Gua Thakurta, senior journalist, and Yatish Rajava joins us. He's a former group editor of the Dainik Bhaskar Group. And we're also joined by Sanjay Singh, political editor of First Post. Paranjoy, I'll start with you because 2015, a year for media, how would you put it? Because as I just said, the terms that were used for the media, the rise of social media, the criticism that the media has come under, how do we look at this?
You know, in some ways, some things haven't changed. Maybe certain trends have become more prominent, more pronounced, whether it be the corporatization of the media, whether it be the rise of the social media, whether it be the way the internet, together with the recession which has squeezed revenues from mainstream media organizations, what they've done, they disrupted the business models of traditional media organizations. So all of these were trends that were taking place earlier, and it's continuing. Attacks on the media, people becoming increasingly intolerant, describing the entire media as prostitutes. You know, I'm not saying they're everybody in the media, they're nice guys, but you know, when you tar an entire profession with the same brush, I don't think that's fair. I think the other thing that's happened, and part of this has got to do with the overall political atmosphere in the country. Right. The polarization, the political polarization of the media. You know, and Mr. Narendra Modi has been a master at using the social media. But what it also has done is, you know, either you're with him, and if you're not with him, then you're opposed to him. These kinds of trends, which were already evident in the past, have become even more pronounced, intensified, and become prominent.
Saji, is that the case? The political adversary, the media has become for the political class? Is that the case now? Because the kind of statements that have come in earlier, that dynamic was quite, I mean, it was a bonhomie of sorts, but now it's given way to a massive conflict, hasn't it?
Yeah, but then I think, even earlier, politicians would criticize the media in very stringent terms. I mean, I've heard people like Rajiv Gandhi using these kind of words. I mean, bringing draconian laws. I mean, at least Modi hasn't brought a defamation law like what Jagannath Mishra or M.G. Ramachandran or Rajiv Gandhi brought in the 80s. Chidambaram was one of the instigators for this. So that way, but now because the noise level has grown, the social media, as Paranjoy mentioned, we are hearing more and more. And also, I think we have to look at the media in the political context, that much of the media, new media, hasn't known a majority government. We absorbed the shock in 2014 of somebody dominating the Lok Sabha. And Narendra Modi was a very different kind of figure than the other politicians, prime ministers we have known. He said, I will not deal with the media. I'll deliver to you. I'll go to Madison Square Garden. I'll go to Lal Killa. I'll deliver. I will not deal with you. So then the media, to recover that, took the whole of 2015 to get back into a strong adversarial this thing. Because if you look at the television industry, there's no institutional memory of a majority government because most of them came only in the 90s and early 2000s. So, I mean, institutional memory itself was not there. So, I think the media itself was going through a tremendous churning process. And yes, there has been frontal attack by the politicians, but so has media been frontally attacking the government. Look at the way the intolerance debate, many other media organizations took it up. The attack on the police raid on the Kerala house on the beef, this thing, the media took it back very strongly against her. So I think the engagement has been much more intensive, more vitriolic, I could say.
All right, Bharat, your take on this and the fact that social media has ensured that there's constant criticism. So does that mean a little bit of self-censorship that has come into the minds of editors such as you?
I think as far as the mainstream media, traditional media is concerned, I don't think it plays an adversarial role as it should. I think the dominant consensus between mainstream media editors and the powers that be has never been so strong as it is today. We buy everything that the government says. In the name of good governance, you can change labor laws and deny trade union rights. In the name of good governance, you don't appoint the Chief Information Commissioner for 9 months. In the name of good governance, you want to take away people's right to have a say when their land is acquired.
Right.
But we bought good governance. You look at foreign direct investment, you look at disinvestment, you look at government trying to hand over natural resources, common resources to private industry. Look at big projects. Everywhere there's a consensus that in the name of development and good governance, whatever is happening is right. I don't think there's been the kind of de-skilling that we are witnessing in newsrooms today. All commentary is outsourced. Every foreign secretary and his cousin is writing on foreign policy. Diplomatic correspondents have disappeared from newsrooms. Defense, internal security, foreign policy. Journalists have become stenographers to the government. Rarely do you see people writing against internal security matters. If media had been vigilant, do you think so many minority persons would be arrested in the name of terrorism? So I think mainstream media has lost its credibility and has been losing it steadily. If there is some regain of credibility, it is through a media that remains marginal, that is social media, that is digital platforms. There people are exercising a certain amount of freedom. But the moment big players come in there, I think that's also going to disappear.
All right, but as far as Bharat was pointing out, Yatish, the fact that opinion now has become more important than perhaps reportage, and that is something that social media is also using very well, and putting out a lot of content out there, a lot of opinions out there, but somehow we miss the woods for the trees in that debate, don't we?
So, you'll have to look at the macro picture. The structure of media industry has changed. The revenues are getting squeezed of the traditional media. They have in turn squeezed their information collection or journalist resources. They have not invested in that. If you look at the top traditional media organization in the country, they're all staffed by people who are now above in their 60s, and the top rung is heavy at the moment. So that structure is detrimental to the fact that they will accept a new trend like social media or internet. If you see all the internet entities that are coming up, they are either people who are in the mid-tier or people who have fair amount of experience in the traditional media and want to do something which is more useful now. Now, when you do something on internet, automatically you are investing everything on the information collection or on opinion. You are not investing in distribution, you're not investing in paper. So, by that standard, your costs are going directly into journalism. There is a flip side to it also, that these entities are not well funded at the moment, and as Bharat was pointing out, when the bigger players come in, maybe the smaller players will get squeezed out. But along with this, there is another trend, which is community collection of information, which is your social media. Now, information is being collected, Twitter has become the biggest wire service in the world. Facebook has become the largest publishing platform.
Right.
LinkedIn is the only publishing platform for professional news. These are global publishing platforms. Now, these will kind of break even the traditional media, so to say. So, these are the 4 big trends that you see. Now, in this trend, if you put it in the political structure that we see at the moment in India, which is a majority government which does not want to talk to traditional media and wants to use all the other mediums. It wants to use a broadcast medium like Twitter, it wants to use Facebook. And because it is available and there is an audience there which is willing to absorb it, both the traditional media and the new internet startup media is facing a challenge. The challenge which was of access journalism.
Right.
Investigation journalism died out in traditional media 10 years back. The new media is trying to do a little bit of it. But if you see the latest incident in Delhi, it did not get opened up on any other media. It got opened up on a platform, a social media platform. Transparency International discovered the fact that there was a incident
All right,
which
so
has
the
happened.
internet making the media and news a level playing field in that sense. But Sanjay Singh, and there's a bias that the media is often accused of, and that of a left liberal bias. And now we see a lot of rioting, and given that the present government is not directly willing to take questions, is that right in the sense of the so-called right-wing narrative coming to the fore?
See, Ishan, it's not important that whether or not government is taking questions. The fact remains that people are asking questions, and the new media, in fact, the social media, traditional media, why traditional media still has that credibility. You get up in morning and you read newspapers, but that is losing steam essentially because that traditional media centers around kind of a thought, likes and dislikes of editor and the processed downwards filters. The social media puts a new challenge whereby you also are kind of engaging with people, and therefore the digital media is becoming more important, the places where guys like me work. And if you see, there is also a kind of communication with the reader and with the person who are writing and the people who are actually handling. Traditional media does not give you that kind of a space, and therefore the kind of writings that you see during the day, you have all kinds of views published, you have all kinds of narrative over the television, over in social media, over in digital media, and therefore by the time traditional media comes up with the kind of news that they have next morning, it does not hold the same kind of credibility that it had before. But habits change, takes time to change, in fact. But in fact, the government has been put on pressure. Take, for instance, this particular instance of juvenile justice bill being passed by Rajya Sabha. This was essentially media pressure, popular kind of sentiments expressed through social media and also people on the streets as magnified by the media. So I would not say that the government is, whether or not the government is taking questions, it is important that people and media ask those relevant questions.
All right, so the social media allowing people to at least ask a question, but Sachi, then the government not willing to answer a question. You're saying that this is the first time this present day media is seeing a majority government, and therefore 2016 things could change. But could they really, given what we've seen in 2015?
See, the thing is, we can't give up the what we call the mainstream or traditional media, because basically I think we are referring to print and electronic.
Right.
But take two of the biggest episodes where, you mentioned about a minister abusing the media. What was it in reaction? It was not to social media. It was to a report in an English newspaper of Delhi. He was so angry with that paper. Then what about the government mounting a strong attack on the media after the Lalit Modi issue came up? It was exposed by a television channel which went hammer and tongs at it for a few days and then suddenly gave it up. There was a deal or whatever. But so this is a thing that still, and when I read a lot of our social media, they're all interesting startups, but 70% of the content in some of them is basically reproduction of articles from newspaper.
Right.
And same is the social media platforms, even in America, which I follow, they would pick up from Washington Post, Time Magazine, and various other things. So the kind of investment in reporting which traditional media still has. I agree that yes, it is coming down and all that, but still much more reporters are there on the ground for the mainstream media
And
than for
accountability is
social
also,
media.
I think, an important question, isn't it, Bharat?
Absolutely. That is why I don't buy this argument that why should the government take questions? It doesn't matter as long as we ask questions. The role of media in a democracy is to hold elected governments accountable. What kind of journalism is it where I go on asking questions but get no replies? To my mind, that's not playing the role that media is expected to play.
I'm sorry, I never said that. That doesn't matter that government responds or not.
Okay, fair
So
enough.
let me just say that I think, in just asking questions, the media can also play a highly negative role. Two instances I'll give you. One is Juvenile Justice Act, where you've gone, instead of...
And now we're questioning the
you
bill
actually
itself.
hijacked the entire debate. A small vocal media has hijacked the debate and made lawmaking based on populist punitiveness. That because the electorate at certain point of time thinks in a particular way, that's how laws should be changed. We had a member of parliament saying that not only should juvenile be punished, their hands and legs should be broken before they are hanged. That is what the media has done by asking the wrong kind of questions. Similarly, if you take the media on foreign policy, especially with respect to Pakistan and China, they are to the right of Attila the Hun. You know, if the government wants to hold a dialogue, there are retired generals and TV anchors who want to declare war the next morning, and one wonders why are they on television? Why didn't they join the army if that was their calling?
Right.
So media, by asking questions mindlessly, can actually play an extremely negative role.
All right, Paranjoy, I know you want to comment, but I just want to add to something over here. That with television, it's often accused that it's trivialized news a little bit. It's just about the flashy headline. And is that the way of sort of internet journalism is also going? Because from TRPs, it's now become about shares and likes.
You know, the picture is a mixed one. So you can't generalize. You know what Bharat was saying. You know, unlike you, for instance, all 6 of us are not speaking simultaneously. You're not trying to save the nation every evening, are you?
No.
You're not saying the nation wants to know about whether the media has degenerated. Why is it a mixed picture? Let's go step by step. What's happening across the world, we can't be insulated from it. So if the squeezing of funds for investigative journalism, or traditional media is not investigative journalism, but NGOs and philanthropic organizations, that is also happening in our country. Secondly, you have today in a country of 1.25 billion people, about 1 billion SIMs, that is a subscriber identity module. You have about 700 million handsets. But wait, about a quarter of your population is using the internet. So there is a digital divide. But what we are here talking about is the quality of that information, the quality of that analysis. Is the media playing the role of an antagonist, the adversary? Is it talking truth to power? Is it holding those who are in positions of power and authority accountable? The answer is yes and no. Mr. Modi prefers, say, Doordarshan or All India Radio. It's one-way communication. Those questions are screened before they're asked. But there's the other side of the story. You know, people are trolling. I mean, look at the kind the anonymity that the internet gives you also leads to a huge amount of viciousness and scurrilousness. As an academic, Sanjay Subramaniam, recently pointed out, the guys who have genuine emails, who have genuine Twitter handles, they're the ones who are getting abused. And the ones who are anonymous, who are Mr. ABCD or Miss XYZ, they get away by saying anything and everything. So it's a mixed picture. You know, you can't generalize. At one level, good things are happening. I mean, it's not that I see the future of journalism in India as very bleak. No. There are websites like the one Bharat is associated. I mean, there are all kinds of media. It's always been that way in India.
Right.
So the good and the bad are existing simultaneously. There's corruption in the media, and there's also good media happening. Both of these things are happening together.
Yatish, you wanted to comment before I go across to Sanjay, who wanted to respond to Bharat.
2 points I wanted to make here. One, you know, digitization will increase. You know, you will have 4th generation mobile internet in the market in 2016, you know. So, I mean, this year we are going to have a fair amount of penetration of 4th generation. Along with it will come polarization and extremity too. So, what Paranjoy was pointing out, and you know what is now a clear trend, that you will see polarization of media on the internet too. It's already seen in the startups in some form or the other. It's being seen in the activity of the trolls on the social media side. You've already seen the traditional media completely aligning itself to the government. So, I mean, that is given now, so to say. But we will see increasing extreme voices getting their share of fame or their place in the sun because of the fact that penetration of digital will increase dramatically in 2016.
All right.
That will have an impact on everybody. You know, it will have an impact on traditional media, it will have an impact on government, it will have an impact on how the parliament behaves. It may also have an impact on how the judiciary finally takes decisions.
All right, Sanjay, coming across to you, just talking about the way social media is being used. You're saying that, as Bharat was pointing out, that as far as questions are concerned, we're still asking those questions. But the problem is that instead of an interview, a minister then starts talking to you on Twitter or starts targeting you on Twitter saying, you're trolling me. In that sense, has the conversation denigrated from what it should be about rather larger policy to an us versus them debate?
Ishan, has this situation changed in last 16 months, or this situation was there also before? But the key question is, it's fine that if you bracket that way, that traditional media has completely aligned with the government, and therefore, the new media, traditional media in the sense that print media broadly, and digital media has not, and therefore people are going to the digital platform. Traditional media broadly had always been same except for few exceptions, and therefore people are actually looking towards the digital media, and also television is also trying to shape that way, at least some of the channels. And the government also will have to realize, so far the government does not have a policy towards digital media. There is no accreditation either in parliament or with the PIB. PM may have launched Digital India campaign, but the fact remains that digital media is not recognized by the government. People talk about it, of course they talk about it. They have now realized that this is the medium that is there and going to stay. The traditional media, print media, is actually investing a lot in their digital platforms. So thereby, I think the future is there. But I think we should kind of stay away from broad generalizations.
Okay, fair enough. No broad generalizations, but in closing comments, now we've run out of time, as is the norm on television debates. So 2016, what can we look forward to? There's going to be increased digitization, more people will have access to the media, more people will be getting more information. But where does this lead us in terms of what we've seen in 2015? Bharat first.
You know, there are a lot of good things happening. It's not as if the media scene is extremely dismal. In digital, I can speak where I've been working now. There are new and encouraging trends. There are a lot of idealistic youngsters who are coming into journalism, who think journalism is politics by other means, that through their writing, through their videos, through their audio interviews, they can make a difference to society. That's a good sign. They're highly imaginative youngsters who are coming. They're highly trained. They're not people who didn't get other jobs and therefore are coming to journalism. They think innovatively, they think out of the box. And I place enormous amounts of hopes on these people, although there's no revenue model as of now for digital, but that will emerge. So these are the good things that are happening, and I think they will continue to happen in 2016. I think the influence of digital media will increase as internet penetration increases, or as even mobile penetration increases, because people will start receiving news in newer platforms and in wide variety of forms that print cannot deliver, that television cannot deliver. These are the good things that are happening, and I look forward to them growing in the coming year.
All right, but Sachi, you've seen the evolution of the media, I mean, from a long time now. So where do you see this headed now? I mean, the digitization, and that is obvious, but in terms of the relationship with the government, with the questions, I mean, the fact is that questions are being, I mean, people are being trolled rather than being being made accountable for that.
You know, 2016, early part of the year, we have these 5 assembly elections coming. If you remember the relationship between the government and the media, the Delhi election changed it. Suddenly, the media was, as I said earlier, media was shocked by this majoritarian government where the Prime Minister himself was a new kind of thing. He was an outsider to Delhi and all that. So these election results will decide on what the relationship or the government and the media will be, especially I'm talking about the central government. I mean, look at the way we always, the recent years have this, a winner does not commit mistakes. Look at the way the media treats Naveen Patnaik, who has been delivering election after election very well. So there's not much of attention because still Orissa has serious problems and all that. But so I think we tend to go with the winner. You win, that means you have the public support. So if you lose, the more questions. So I think the big test for Modi are these elections, and the second half of 2016 will be determined by this, how the media will treat him. Unless he delivers a huge economic miracle, growth jumps up by 2 to 3 percent points.
All right, Paranja, before I come to you, I want to come across to Yatish, because Yatish, you've edited a Hindi newspaper as well. So in that sense, as far as the vernacular media is concerned, I mean, often debates and conversations and opinions are relegated to the English-speaking mainstream Delhi press, as they say. So in that sense, the health of the vernacular media moving forward from here, because that is where most of the readers are, aren't they?
So, Ishan, just to correct the vernacular term, vernacular is not the right term for Hindi media.
Non-English.
Non-English, or you can say in Indian language
Indian
media.
languages.
But so the issue here is, and I see this as a tipping point in 2016, is the English media, which has been traditionally concerned and concentrated in Delhi and focused only on the central government, while the Indian language media focused on the states and the cities. Now, this is expected to change in the digital world. While the traditional media is investing on digital properties or at city and state level, there are startups which are coming up, and there are companies which are focusing on that aspect, which is sometimes far more important for a reader or a citizen than what happens at the center. You know, it is very important. India-Pakistan relationship are very important. But my day-to-day living is actually not concerned with India-Pakistan relationship. My day-to-day living is concerned with my city government, with my municipality, with my police. Now, these are things which have actually been ignored by English media in the last 10, 15 years.
Right.
They've been done very well by the Indian language media. Now they are coming into the digital world, and that changes dramatically. That changes the equations dramatically. It also changes readership, it changes viewership. Those hyperlocal entities will also have an impact on television, because you have now means available for a video broadcaster or a blogger to put up a city-specific site which videocast. You know, we saw India spend putting in money to put in this air filters, this pollution. Now that is a new form of journalism. They are basically collecting data. They're collecting data at city level and they're converting it into a narrative.
Okay.
That is the trend for 2016.
Okay, that's an interesting trend coming up for the Indian language media. But Sanjay, coming across to you, final comments to you as well. You're in a digital organization, so the way it looks rather bright for you given our discussion that we've had over here. But then, do you hope to get the Prime Minister to sit down to an interview? Is he going to do that with the digital media as well, or not only speak on Twitter one way?
See, Ishan, I cannot speculate on that, whether or not he is going to give an interview. But I think there have been informal interactions. And so far, as we have seen, the Prime Minister is not the one who is going to give a sit-down interview. Perhaps he may hold press conference, but that is not happening. That was one thing which happened during Manmohan Singh's regime. But this is purely in realm of speculation, where I am no astrologer to predict on that count.
Right. All right, Paranjoy, final comment to you. You've written about it for years now. So, I mean, where are we headed and what is the trend that you see?
Okay. See, the fact that out of these, say, 700 million odd mobile handsets, about 250 are so-called smartphones. So that means you can shoot video, you can record. So the citizen is empowered to become a journalist. Not that every citizen can become a journalist. That will indeed lead to greater transparency, and you're going to have ordinary citizens holding people accountable because they have that gadget in their hand. That's one, and it's a positive sign, and it leads to greater empowerment of ordinary citizens. That's one part of the story. But simultaneously, you're going to see more attempts to manipulate the media, the digital media, through troll. You're going to see more attempts at bribing journalists and corrupting journalists, and you're going to see more attempts at spinning the news. So both of these things, the good, the highs and the lows, will both continue simultaneously. That's the way I see 2016 happening.
Okay. I mean, we'll have to wrap up. Bharat, you wanted to come and
I want to say that, this whole business of bribing journalists, it's happened through the ages. So you can't say it's a new trend.
Perhaps it's about human nature. But we'll have to wrap it up over here. We've run out of time. But that's our New Year special. Thank you all of you gentlemen for coming in and helping us understand what we can look forward to the New Year from the media itself. And hopefully it'll be a lot more conversation, it'll be a lot more information, and it'll be more adversarial, so to say. On that note, we'll have to wrap it up. But thanks so much for watching The Big Picture.